Assalamu alaikum dear students, I hope you'll be doing well. In today's video, we are going to cover present tense negative and interrogative, past tense negative and interrogative, future tense affirmative negative and interrogative, active to passive voice conversion. So let's begin with the present indefinite tense and the methodology for making negative sentences. Subject, do, does, not, plus first form of verb with object. Now we used S or ES with first form of verb in affirmative sentences. Now this S or ES will be replaced with do or does with an additional not to make the negative sentence of it. For example, he does not open the door, and when we make the interrogative form, does or do will come at the beginning of the sentence and the rest of the sentence will remain the same. Means, does he open the door, and it will end with an interrogative mark. We all know that this is just kind of a revision for you. And the methodology for making negative passive sentences. Object is MR, not with third form of verb by and subject. For example, the door is not opened by him, and the interrogative form would be is or am or are, or the auxiliary that we use will come in the beginning of the sentence and the rest of the sentence will remain the same. For example, is the door opened by him? Present continuous tense. Methodology for making negative sentence. Subject is MR, not first form of verb ing and object. For example, he is not opening the door, and the interrogative form would be is he opening the door? The passive form would be object is MR, not plus being plus by plus subject. For example, the door is not being opened by him, and when we'll make the interrogative form of it, we'll take this auxiliary in the beginning of the sentence and the rest of the sentence will remain the same. For example, is the door being opened by him? The next tense we have is present perfect tense, and the active methodology is subject has, have, not with V3 and object. For example, he has not opened the door, and the negative and the interrogative sentence would be has he opened the door, and when we make passive form, we'll add a not between has, have and been. Object has, have, not, been, V3, by and subject. For example, the door has not been opened by him, and the interrogative form is has the door been opened by him? Now dear students, let's move to the next tense, that is past tense. And to make the negative form of active voice past indefinite tense is subject did not with V1 and object. There is a little difference between the affirmative and the negative methodology, because in affirmative sentences we used second form of verb, but when we convert it in the negative sentence or the negative form, first form will become second form will become the first form, and did not will be added to make it negative. For example, he did not open the door. Did he open the door would be the interrogative form of it. The passive voice is object, was were, and we'll add a not with third form of verb followed by and subject. For example, the door was not opened by him. Was the door opened by him? The next tense we have is past continuous tense, and the active methodology is subject with was were, not with first form of verb ing and object. For example, He was not opening the door. Was he opening the door? And the passive methodology would be object, was, were, not, being, third form of verb, by, and object. For example, the door was not being opened by him, and the interrogative form would be was the door being opened by him? The next tense we have is past perfect tense. Active methodology is subject, had, and we'll add a not after had with third form of verb and object. For example, he had not opened the door. Had he opened the door would be the interrogative form, whereas passive methodology would be object, had, not, been, third form of verb, by, and subject. For example, the door had not been opened by him, and the interrogative would be had the door been opened by him. Next tense we have is future indefinite tense, and the active methodology for making affirmative sentence is subject, will, shall, first form of verb, and object. For example, he will open the door. But when we make negative form of it, we'll add a not between subject, will, shall, and first form of verb. He will not open the door. And the interrogative form would be will he open the door? The passive methodology for that is object, will, shall, and we'll add be to make it passive with third form of verb, by, and subject. For example, the door will be opened by him. But when we make the negative form of it, we'll add a not between helping verb and be. It will become the door will not be opened by him. And the interrogative form would be will in the beginning or shall in the beginning. The door be opened by him means the rest of the sentence will remain the same. The passive form for future continuous tense does not exist, so that is why we are moving towards future perfect tense, and the active methodology is subject with will, shall, have with third form of verb and object. For example, he will have opened the door, and the negative form would be he will not have opened the door. The interrogative form would be will he have opened the door? The passive methodology is object, will, shall, have been, third form of verb, by, and subject. For example, the door will have been opened by him, and the negative sentence would be the door will not have been opened by him. And when we make the interrogative form of it, will the door have been opened by him? Will not change the place of any other word instead of this will while making the interrogative sentence. So that is it for today, dear students. We have completed the conversion from active to passive voice of all the tenses. So take care of yourselves and Allah Hafiz.